Hello. Another week, come and gone. I'll be honest, I didn't fish the Metro a ton this past week. My oldest son Jack had his TBF State Bass Championship up on Leech Lake, so we were up there Monday through Thursday chasing down fish. It was a tough bite up on Leech. If you're up there going bass fishing, we were limited west of Stony Point, which is like Walker Bay area, up into Steamboat Bay, Shingabee, that kind of stuff. And we caught some super nice fish pre-fishing, the right ones. Typical, obviously, bass tournament. If you caught them like you did yesterday, or you caught them like you did pre-fishing, right? But the kids grinded it out, but struggled come tournament day. But found some deep patterns, found something somewhat consistent, just could not put the pattern together tournament day. But those two young kids made about 500 casts, caught some pike, caught a giant dogfish, just couldn't muster any bass. So that's fishing. You know, those teach you life lessons that keeps you pushing forward. We don't always catch them. It doesn't matter where you fish or what you're doing. You have tough days on the water. You got to persevere, push through it, and keep going, right? So otherwise, I did spend a little bit of time here in the metro area in the last couple days chasing down fish. And once again, we're finding fish in those deep patterns. It's certainly a deep bite. We're not getting anything of size up shallow. If you want to go fishing again, like we've said the last few weeks, if you want to go catching, just go up there and chuck a wacky rig. You can chuck a wacky rig Kamita up there in 2 to 6 feet of water and get bit. But there's going to be a lot of fish in that 12-inch range, 14-inch range. We're talking bass up there, and you can always catch a big one under a dock and that sort of stuff. So if you want to get out of the wind and just go catching, if you got kids in the boat and you want to do some fishing, the wacky rig still catches a pile of fish up shallow. Or you can chuck a swim jig. We caught a bunch of fish on a swim jig, and the nice thing about a swim jig is you can fish this in a variety of situations. We've talked about the swim jig many times in the past, and we're just throwing that all-terrain swim jig with the Kitech paddle tail on the back. Nothing super fancy. We're just chucking this, and you can fish this in 2 feet of water around pencil reeds, or you can fish this in 8 feet of water in the weed pockets. I've even casted this on the weed line in, let's say, 8 to 14 feet of water, and surprisingly enough, it's still a jig. So if you don't do anything, it sinks. And a lot of anglers don't think about that. They just think, well, it's a swim jig, it's designed for under 8 feet of water. Well, you know what? You can throw a swim jig in 20 feet of water if you want. I've done it. They make swim jigs, the half-ounce swim jigs that you can chuck out there. And the second that it hits the water, I'll feed it a little bit of line and then engage the retrieve. And I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that thing sinks down 10, 12, 15 feet, and then I'll slowly retrieve it back and hop it. And you can actually fish that swim jig through the deep coontail if you wanted to and pull it over the top of those weeds. So there's plenty of ways you can fish the swim jig. It's very versatile. And too many anglers just think it's a shallow water bait, cover water bait, get up there and beat around docks and pencil reeds and lily pad edges, which certainly it works well for that, but don't negate the swim jig for any situation. So if you want just this all-purpose jig, that's a great option. We caught a bunch of fish on a finesse jig. That's been kind of our go-to lately, which is just an all-terrain finesse jig. Same concept as the popular AT rattling jig. It does not have the rattle. It has a thinner wire hook. It's available in 3/8 ounce and 1/4 ounce, so it's not as big or heavy or gaudy. And the weed guard is shorter and thinner on purpose so that you can get better hookups. So you can pitch this finesse jig with a small little Mr. Twister pocket crawl on the back. It's a beautiful package. You can pitch this around shallow cover. You can pitch this around deep weed lines. You can pitch this around docks. Catches a bunch of fish. So if you're looking for another option, a little lighter weight instead of fishing, let's say, a jig worm or something to that effect, you can fish a variety of different finesse jigs out there on the market and get a good desired result, but stay a little more weedless. So if I can get away with an exposed hook like a mighty jig and a jig worm, I'm going to fish that all day long. Your hooking percentage is better. The fish get the hook better positioned in their mouth, all that sort of stuff. But some situations you can't fish an exposed hook because all you're doing is taking off weeds, especially if you're taking somebody fishing. In my situation, many times on guide trips, you know, they may not, you know, be as encouraged to chase fish in certain spots if all they feel like they're doing is pulling weeds off their hook. Because if weeds are matted on your hook, like we know, you're not going to catch fish. You're not going to get bit. You want to get the weeds off the hook, but with an exposed hook, in sparse weeds or deep weeds that are just, you know, like coontail, you can pop it through there pretty quick and keep effectively fishing. So jig worms, the finesse jig, swim jig, jig worms, drop shot is starting to catch a bunch of fish. Drop shot's a super fun way to catch fish. Obviously, you have a weight down below your offering. I think many of you have known or have seen a drop shot. We've talked about it many times. Drop shots can catch a pile of fish right now, especially as we get into the doldrums of summer and water temps are in the 80s and the fish are deep and cool, and during midday they don't feel like they want to bite. That's normal. Don't think like you're doing something wrong. Once you get to that 10, 11 o'clock hour, the bite will typically on most lakes slow down. Can you get a big bite in the middle of the day? Sure. Can you have a phenomenal bite in the middle of the day? Of course you can, like anything. But generally speaking, I like to target that first 3 to 5 hours of light. Middle of the day, you get the doldrums, and then of course later in the evening again the bite picks up, generally speaking, on most bodies of water. What I would do during the day right now, to be honest, is go target bluegills. If you want dinner, great opportunity to put fish in the live well. And the bluegills are right in the weed line. They're super aggressive. They're super easy to catch. You don't need a bobber. You don't need live bait. You just take a small little twister tail. I actually have one sitting right here on my workbench. It's nothing nothing fancy. We've all fished twister tails. I'm just fishing little twister tail, 2-inch tri-live twister tail from Mr. Twister, and I'm using like a 16th ounce drop TG. So this is a tungsten jig head from Clam. It's 16th ounce, and I like this profile and this size. In the spring, it might be a little big. We talked spring panfish a couple months back, but not this time of year because I want to be able to pitch this and feel it. Feel is important, keeping the bait down where the fish is. They will take this bait, I promise. They're taking wacky rig Kamitas right now. They're smoking them on the way down. They're taking 7-inch jig worms and crushing it, and we're hooking bluegills once in a while. Trust me, they'll suck this thing right in. You can pitch this on 5-pound test line in a light action spinning rod, and you can have a field day right now on most metro area lakes catching bluegills and sunfish. And you'll catch enough to make you happy and entertained, and you might catch enough, generally speaking, to also put them in your live well to have dinner this evening. So middle of the day doldrums, if the bass are turning off, or if you're trying to catch a walleye, whatever it might be, the bluegills will bite all day long. And the high suns, the warm days, the stagnant weather, the put sunscreen on, put your blackfish shirt on, put your swimsuit on, jump in and out of the water type parts of the day, you can get bluegills to go. And flick the switch in your live well, fill up the live well, and have yourself a nice fish fry for dinner. So plenty of good opportunities right now to catch fish and chase fish. Water temps are still pretty darn warm, and we've had some really warm weather this weekend. We hit the 90s. It's been very dry. Looks like the weather this week is going to be pretty nice in the 80s. We have a beautiful week ahead of us as we move into, believe it or not, August. The next time we talk, it's going to be August already. I don't know where the time went. Kids are going back to school, hopefully, here in the next month. And it's time to start focusing on the fall bite. Before we know it, it's just time flies when we're having fun, right? We're chasing fish and doing all kinds of things. So if you want to also get out there and just catch fish as well, you control crankbaits on the weed lines. That's catching pike, that's catching walleyes, that's catching everything that swims. And get out there and just have some fun. So again, some key points this time of year that I want to reiterate. Deep water bite, fish prime time, sunlight, sundown type periods, or those windows a couple hours after sunlight or a couple hours before sundown. Hydrate well, bring plenty of water on the boat, wear the protective clothing to keep the sun off your body, or sunscreen up regularly. The sun is hot right now. It can damage not just your skin, but it can damage your health. You can get dehydrated. By the time you start getting headaches and not feeling good, it's generally too late. So wear your swimsuit, take a dip in the water. There's no wrong way to spend the day on the water. You can do whatever you want. Sometimes we'll take an inner tube and throw it behind the boat, and I'll be flipping for bass on the front while the kids sit in the inner tube dragging in the back. So get out there and have some fun, enjoy the water, catch some fish, and go whack them hard. So enjoy the rest of your July. We're wrapping up July here. We'll be hitting August next week, like I said, and hopefully we get on some good fish. I'll be in the metro a lot this next week, quite a bit, probably 5 days to be honest. So hopefully I got a pretty good handle on a more consistent metro area bite. But what I've seen last week consistently progresses into this week. So keep your head up, keep casting, keep setting hooks. And remember, hook sets are free in bass fishing especially. So if you think you got a fish, let them have it. Bring it home. Good luck. See you next week.